All right, everyone. Good evening. It's Dr.SHIVA We're going to take a systems approach to understand a very interesting nutrient called MSM related to joint health. CytoSolve is a technology that I created for my PhD work, and CytoSolve really allows us to take a systems approach to understanding how, at the molecular level, chemical interactions work. Right now, when you eat something, it's hard to know what that's actually going on. So a lot of these nutritional companies will say, use this, use that, and no one really knows what's going on. With CytoSolve, we actually do a very different approach to using a molecular systems approach where we literally look at all the literature in a field and bring it together and understand the molecular science of it. Again, that was my PhD work in biological engineering. I spent about 5 years really building this technology. So if you look at MSM, it's an emerging therapeutic molecule. There's around 693 research articles. So it's still a very cool molecule. It's not like there's 10,000 articles, but there's around 693 research articles. 31 clinical trials have been done on it, and that's over 36 years of medical research. So that's the background on MSM. Now, if you look at all of these articles, imagine that I said, I need you to go read all these articles. How would you do that? It would be quite a Herculean effort for you to go distill all those 693 articles, read all of them, understand which was garbage, which was good, to get down to an understanding of which were the relevant articles, which had to do with joint health, and then which you could get any molecular systems information out of it. So what we do is we have a very powerful way of doing that with CytoSolve. So what we can do is we literally, with CytoSolve, this is one of the powers of it, we can take all those articles. Out of those articles, then we can proceed to understanding from those articles which are the relevant ones and extract from them the molecular mechanisms. So you're going to see the molecular mechanisms we've extracted, and then we're going to take them all, and with that we build what's called an architecture of that molecular system. In this case, it's joint health. And I'm going to share with you that, and then we can figure out how, let's say, MSM affects that particular system of reactions, which is all coming from all the science. So we're not cherry picking. Now, this is very different than, unfortunately, how science is moving, where people are not taking all of the research. Sometimes they just take a little piece of the research. So they don't look at the entire picture. It's called cherry picking. And the problem with when you take that kind of unscientific approach is that it may be politically driven. So someone will say, oh, forget all of that research, just look at this research. So for example, with climate change, you're looking at a very complex system, the climate, and people are saying CO2 is a pollutant. It's not that simple. So that's what happens when you take a reductionist approach. Before the advent of CytoSolve, it was very difficult to see this. People just sort of guess. They do a test tube experiment, they go kill a bunch of animals. But with CytoSolve, we can look at all of that research, all of those articles, distill the molecular mechanisms, and we can understand. That's why in many ways CytoSolve is a scientific source of truth. The important thing is, as the science changes, we don't just stop, we can also update the science. I wanted to let you know that we use the technology here. We've helped many companies over the last 16 years, a lot of smart, innovative companies, but we decided with all the mathematical models we've created, why don't we try to use this to compute the best product we could think of from the science out there for reducing pain and inflammation, pain and discomfort. And that resulted in us creating MV25 using CytoSolve. We're going to have more products that are going to be coming, but let me just show you what MV25 is about for those of you who haven't heard about it. But this is using CytoSolve in a beneficial way, not to just do research, but find combination therapies.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ann. My hands would cramp up so that I couldn't hold cards or knit or crochet, and they would go like that. And I'd have to use this when I played cards with my grandkids. And I started taking that MV25. After a bit, I was able to hold cards in my hand. Very little cramping, hardly at all anymore. MV25.
Hi, my name is Sandy. I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I tore my ACL during Taekwondo. I had a lot of pain and limited mobility. I've been taking the MV25 for about 6 months now. After the first week, I noticed a big difference. After the second week, almost literally no pain.
My name is Jeremy, and I suffer from a lower back problem. Hurt my back at work years ago, and I can go to the chiropractor, do all kinds of different things, and nothing seems to help. And I decided to try MV25. I didn't notice a difference immediately, but within a few days, the pain went away, and it stayed away. I've continued to take it, and even when I do things that I shouldn't do, it seems to go away a lot quicker than it ever did before.
It's clean food certified. It's made in the US. If you go to vashiva.com, right on the shop, you'll click there, or you can go right to mv25.life, either way. And then from there, you can click on the bottle and you can order. If you buy 6 bottles, you get 6 bottles for free. Please take advantage of it because first of all, it's going to help you. It's going to help our movement, and it really supports the fact that we want to take science-based approaches to natural products. Several years ago, we got funding from the Arthritis Foundation as well as the University Health Network of Canada. And what we did was we looked at 22,000 papers that have been written about joint health, 22,000 papers. And out of those, we found 5,700 papers had to do with that was done on humans. Then out of those 5,700, we mapped every molecular pathway. It was about a 2 to 3 year effort we did with UHN. It was a great project. They funded us because we had CytoSolve. And that work that we did, the work of probably like 200 graduate students, it would have taken them so many postdocs. It was only one postdoc, several of the leading researchers in the world. They also, with me, oversaw this research, but we have now created a molecular systems map of osteoarthritis. If you go to cytosolve.com/human-knee-osteoarthritis, you can find this, and then I can go right into the tool. So this is the first molecular systems map of every molecular pathway involved in joint health or osteoarthritis. So first of all, you see that you can get pain, but there are nearly 7 different types of tissues involved in your knee or your joints. Synovial tissue, subchondral bone, meniscus, fat pad, osteophytes, immune cells, and cartilage. And you can literally go explore. So you can look at synovial tissue and you can see there's different kinds of cells, 4 different kinds of cells. If you go to cartilage is made of one cell type, chondrocytes. And the chondrocytes, if you click here, have different particles that can land on the cell surface. Those are called ligands. And they're different kinds of ligands, growth factors, cytokines, all right, other molecules. Cytokines are we're going to focus on. You may have heard of that, the cytokine storm. So here you can see there are different molecules that are involved with cytokine. One of them being IL-1 beta. So I'm going to just give you an example. And look what we've done here. We've mapped out every molecular pathway involved in osteoarthritis. And this is just looking at just one molecule, how it interacts with all of these other molecules. The green molecules are the ones that your body upregulates, which means creates more of. And IL-1 beta, for example, creates this molecule I'll show you called MMP13. Now, MMP13 causes cartilage degeneration. You don't want this around. Catabolic effect. And if you click here, we have then mapped out every molecular interaction between IL-1 beta and MMP13. And you look at all the different things that affect either enhance its effect. So this molecule right here with the black line with the arrow enhances this effect. If it's a red line, it means it stops this, which means it's a good thing. So for example, here's ginseng. Ginseng, it turns out from the research, actually stops cartilage degeneration. So you can see it right here. So like this is a very, very powerful tool that you can explore what works and what doesn't. And I could keep going at this, but you have this capability. If I click on this link right here, you can see ginseng lowers cartilage degeneration because it blocks this pathway. So does, for example, resveratrol blocks this pathway. Okay, so you can see that, resveratrol inhibits the IL-1 induced expression of MMP13. So you can start understanding with this very powerful capability. It's just one of the projects that we've done, how CytoSolve can help discover these things. So now getting back to MSM. So what we want to talk about here is what is MSM? MSM is a naturally occurring compound. So one of the things I want people to remember is there's 2 kinds of compounds in the universe, okay? One compound is a compound that you cannot find in the universe. It's called a synthetic compound. That's what a pharmaceutical company spends billions of dollars making. They spend billions of dollars testing synthetic compounds in a test tube. If they see it works on some action, then they raise money and then they go kill a bunch of animals. It's called animal testing. That takes around 6 years. And then they go into a whole process of clinical trials. But when you look at this process here and we look at MSM, it is a naturally occurring compound that occurs in nature. In fact, it occurs in rainwater. So before irrigation, rainwater is one of the best ways. If you get food grown in the wild, it's argued that has a lot more nutrition because it's getting more MSM, but it's a naturally occurring compound. And you notice it looks like this. It's a pretty cool structure. It has sulfur in the middle, and then you have 2 methyl molecules here, and then you have sulfonyl. It's called methyl sulfonyl methane. So MSM. And it's clinically shown to have symptomatic relief for musculoskeletal discomfort. So muscles as well as skeletal, includes both muscle and bones. And it exerts a medicinal effect through its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. So what our research has shown, it has an antioxidant effect, anti-inflammatory. And there's no known adverse effect, and it's generally recognized as safe. You can take it in pretty high dosages. Again, we're not cherry picking this. This is coming from distillation translation of the scientific work. So where do you find it? Pretty good areas. I just want you to look at this list. You find it in raw milk. You find it in tomatoes. You find it in alfalfa sprouts. You find it in leafy green vegetables. You find it in apples, raspberries, whole grains. Interesting enough, it comes out in raw milk. So what are its biological effects? Well, its biological effects are really 4 biological effects. First of all, it's anti-inflammatory, which means it reduces inflammation. It's an antioxidant. It scavenges free radicals. And the other thing it does that's also quite profound about it is that it also serves to perform immunomodulation, which makes sure that your immune system doesn't go wacko. It modulates it like giving it shock absorbers. And it performs methylation. Methylation is extremely important for many genetic processes because it donates sulfur. You see sulfur molecules right in the middle. So it's a thing that's a source of sulfur. That's the biological effects. Now it has other effects beyond just biological effects, and I want to look at those from the health benefit standpoint. The health benefits is it preserves cartilage. It improves function, physical function, range of motion. It lowers muscle soreness. It improves seasonal allergies, which is really the immunomodulation effect. It improves in skin quality and texture, and it also has anti-cancer capabilities. So these are, again, from the latest research, these are the 6 benefits that people have discovered. So when you look at joint health, when it comes to, there are 4 major mechanisms that are involved in joint health. The way we're going to assess if MSM works is we're going to look at what does it do for inflammation, because in order to have good joint health, you don't want inflammation to go out of control. You want to keep oxidative stress in control. You don't want cartilage degeneration. You want to see if you can regenerate cartilage. These are the 4 major molecular mechanisms that are important for joint health. So let's look at each one. So inflammation consists of a whole set of molecular mechanisms. I'm not going to go into the detail of this. If you go to the website that we just are giving away for free to everyone in the world, for scientists, anyone, you can understand all the molecular pathways that are involved in inflammation. So we want to make sure we're controlling inflammation. Next thing, we want to make sure we're controlling oxidative stress, which is ensuring that you have the antioxidant effect. You don't have reactive oxygen species. It's like your body starts rusting. Then you want to make sure that you don't also have cartilage degeneration. You want to make sure that your body is preserving its cartilage. As you age, you have to be careful about this, or if you do athletic activities. And then you want to make sure, can you regenerate cartilage? Wouldn't that be amazing? In your joints, can you regrow cartilage? So these are the 4 things that we want to do. Each one of these things, the red means we want to lower inflammation, we want to lower oxidative stress, we want to lower cartilage degeneration, and we want to increase cartilage regeneration. That's what we want to do. Well, how do we do that? Well, you have to understand there are markers, biomarkers that do this. Let me just explain a little bit what is a biomarker. So if you go to the doctor, they measure your blood pressure, right? That's a biomarker of hypertension. They may measure your H1AC. It's a biomarker of whether you have a proclivity for diabetes or not. Well, similar to for each one of these molecular pathways, there are different biomarkers. And what we want to do is when we're really doing a scientific analysis and you're in the health food store and you're trying to figure out, should I buy this or not? We want to understand what the biomarkers are, because remember, from a systems perspective, you get an input, you get an output. In this case, we're saying there are 4 biomarkers. 3 of them, 1 reduces inflammation, 1 reduces oxidative stress, 1 reduces cartilage degeneration, and you want a biomarker that increases cartilage regeneration. You want to be able to measure this. So with CytoSolve, we've identified those 4. And then we can run the molecular reactions on the computer without killing animals. And then we can see, hey, what happens when I add MSM? Does it affect it in any way or does it not? That's what we can do. So back to the drawing board here. So here, what we're seeing is that the biomarker of inflammation is PGE2, prostaglandin 2. The biomarker of oxidative stress is reactive oxygen species, ROS. The biomarker of cartilage degeneration is metalloprotease, which is MMPP13. And collagen 2 is a biomarker, you want to increase that of cartilage regeneration. Now, having done that, let's see what MSM does. Now we're going to get into the molecular mechanisms. Now we're going to take the systems approach. By the way, the systems approach I'm talking about here is the same systems approach that I want you to learn from understanding how political systems work, any system works. So we're taking a systems approach now to understanding how this ingredient affects at the molecular systems level. So let's go down to that. So what happens here? So when you take MSM, just looking at the health benefits, MSM affects 2 of the joint mechanisms of action. So MSM affects this and this. MSM has no effect we found on this. So what that means is if someone's trying to sell you snake oil, if someone's trying to put out there, and again, CytoSolve is a scientific source of truth. If someone's going to try to say MSM grows back cartilage, MSM is going to stop cartilage degeneration. From our research, we're finding that's not true. Our research is showing that's not true. Now, some of the supplement guys aren't going to like me saying this, but they've been lying to you. What we have found, what we have discovered with CytoSolve, when we look at it is the following, that these two pathways, MSM affects oxidative stress, which means it reduces the rusting of your body, and it increases and it reduces inflammation. We're going to talk about it. So MSM lowers inflammation and it lowers oxidative stress, but that's pretty powerful. And that helps eliminate joint disease. So point is, MSM is good, but don't think it's affecting all the four pathways here. It's affecting two of them. So how does it do that? Well, for oxidative stress, what MSM does, interesting enough, there are these two molecules, as we saw, IL-1 beta, there's also TNF alpha. If you have a lot of these, you're going to get oxidative stress. So what MSM does, it blocks this molecule called NF kappa beta, which is a molecule, when you have a lot of this, it's going to give rise to NF kappa beta and IL-1 beta. So MSM comes and blocks NF kappa beta. So it's like a line backwards. It blocks this, so these don't produce these two things. But MSM also initiates NRF2, which is a good molecule. And NRF2 gives rise to HO1, and HO1 stops oxidative stress. So it's giving a 1-2 punch. It's stopping NF kappa beta and IL-1 beta, which induce oxidative stress. So that's being stopped right here. And it's upregulating NRF2 and HO1, which stop oxidative stress. So MS1, in summary, activates the transcription factor NRF2 on the right. NRF2 promotes gene expression of heme oxygenase 1, which is HO1, and HO1 is a potent inhibitor of oxidative stress. Think about oxidative stress as causing rust. So HO1 inhibits this. MSM1 on the left side here prevents expression of pro-inflammatory cytokines IL-1 beta and TNF alpha, which exacerbates oxidative stress. By inhibiting oxidative stress, MSM helps ameliorate joint disease. So number one thing is what MSM doing in a two-punch model, it is helping lower oxidative stress by upregulating NRF2 and reducing NF kappa beta. I know you're learning a lot of science here, but that's what we want to do. By the way, so MSM works by reducing oxidative stress. The other thing is MSM, our research shows, also reduces inflammation. So now remember, oxidative stress promotes the transcription factor NF kappa beta. Now this transcription factor, NF kappa beta, promotes the expression of TNF alpha and IL-1 beta. So these two also are involved in inflammation. So what MSM does, as it did here, it blocks NF kappa beta, which then can no longer give rise to these two molecules, TNF alpha. By the way, those of you who are new to a lot of this, you're going to learn a lot. You can share with your friends as a party. TNF alpha and IL-1 beta increase inflammation. NF kappa beta reduce it. MSM does that. But the other thing that happens is NF kappa beta also increases COX-2, which gives rise to PGE2, which also creates inflammation. And by the way, if you ever take Advil, if you ever had to take that, go look at the back of the Advil bottle. You know what it'll say? The back of the Advil bottle will say that Advil is a COX-2 inhibitor. COX-2 inhibitor. What is COX-2? COX-2 is an enzyme which gives rise to something called PGE2, prostaglandin 2. And that prostaglandin 2 is what causes inflammation. So when you take Advil, it just goes and hits that COX-2. But the problem is it goes and hits COX-2 everywhere. So it's hitting it throughout your body, not just in your knee where you're having the problem. See, so that's the bad side of Advil, according to other side effects it has, especially if you have kidney issues, etc. MSM, on the other hand, doesn't have those side effects, which is one of the benefits. So going back to here, so you understand that MSM affects through NF kappa beta to lower inflammation. So what I've done here is we have this little drawing here, and we're going to fill this in over the week, but you see MSM, it affects really oxidative stress and a little bit of the MSM pathways, but it really doesn't affect cartilage degradation or cartilage degeneration. By the way, what I'm going to now share with you some very research that we've actually, so what you can do with CytoSolve is you can actually use our technology to actually go down and mathematically model this. So you don't have to, again, go kill animals. So what we're doing here is we're literally on the x-axis, you have reactive oxygen species, which is an indicator of oxidative stress. And we're giving different doses of MSM, again, without killing animals. Now, the experimental conditions are we're giving about 125 milligrams to 250 milligrams over 2 days. So what's powerful about CytoSolve is we can literally, like a wind tunnel, we're able to simulate what will happen with MSM if you take it into your body without killing animals. All right. This is a revolution of CytoSolve. So I'm very proud of that. And we hope to share with you more and more data like this because you're not going to get this information anywhere else. So under control conditions, the ROS levels are around 160 nanomolar. This is in your blood. So this is in control. And watch, as you give MSM, it definitely drops oxidative stress levels by nearly close to 30% here. It went from 160 down to 100. So ROS levels reduced from 120 nanomolar for supplementation of 120 milligrams for 2-day period. Increasing MS dose did not lower ROS further. So this is something something very interesting. So you get almost a 40% reduction almost here, 40% from 160. That's pretty powerful. So what our research is showing with CytoSolve is that when you take MSM, you get a very powerful reduction in reducing oxidative stress, nearly 40%. That's around, I think, about 250 milligrams. So now the issue is, guess what? If you give more than that, it doesn't have any more effect. So if you're looking for supplements, more is not better. Why spend a lot of money on taking, let me take 2,000 milligrams. Your body cannot absorb more than that. It has a effect. So 250 milligrams is what this research is showing. Again, you should consult with your practitioners, whoever you want. We're not giving medical advice. We're giving the research that we're discovering through CytoSolve. So let me make sure how people are doing. All right, good. So that's the first piece of research. Again, this is literally using CytoSolve. And again, the reason we're sharing this is one of you wanted us to go deeper and go into. So this is a particular ingredient affecting this ROS pathway. The other thing we're looking at here is PGE2, which is inflammation. Okay. So we find here is under control conditions, PGE2 levels are at 48.4, and supplement did not lower the PGE2 level. So it did not lower PGE2, which is, by the way, if you notice, there's two biomarkers of inflammation, PGE2 and LTB4. It's not just, there's two of them here. So what we found was MSM has no effects on lowering PGE2. So let's talk about dosaging of MSM. So how much should you take? So again, this is not a medical, you should ask your doctor, but we looked at the research. So what does the research show when we look at the molecular systems approach? So let's go to that. So the research is quite interesting. So what do we see here? So what we see here is, according to Magnuson et al., and this came out about 14 years ago, maintenance dose is about 80 milligrams. For exercise-induced muscle soreness, again, this is over a period of time. You don't take all 3,000 milligrams a day. This is for not people normal. Remember, I said the 250 milligrams was for normal, but this is for people who've put themselves under serious stress. That's around 3 grams or 3,000 milligrams. For osteoarthritis, Kim et al. Says 4 to 6 grams per day. So there's a difference, as you can understand, where you're just normal and you're healthy. That's at 250 milligrams. But when you're under stress, like massive exercise, or you're under osteoarthritis conditions, the higher dosages do help, because your body's undergoing stress. It is looking for that compound. And by the way, MSM is a naturally occurring molecule. People have said that when we drank or when we ate more food that came from rainwater before we went to irrigation, MSM was very rich in our foods. And we have less and less of it now because we do irrigation now. We don't get all of our foods from rain. Most of it's coming from irrigated environments. So from a summary standpoint, we found two things. MSM helps joint health by lowering oxidative stress and lowering inflammation. MSM is clinically proven to improve joint health, muscle soreness, skin health, and hair growth. And it's doing that through those two processes. And our analysis has revealed that at low dose levels, MSM is effective in reducing oxidative stress substantially, but not inflammation. So the literature says it reduces inflammation, but our research with CytoSolve says it's definitely good at reducing oxidative stress. And MSM has no clinically relevant side effects. And then let me, as I finish up here, what you've just gotten, what we just did here was we took a systems approach. The systems approach is the only way to get to truth, freedom, and health. And I'll be emphatic about this because whether right now science does a lot of cherry picking. So the scientists, if you pay an academic enough, they'll just cherry pick a little piece of research and they'll say, oh, this is what we need to do for blah, whatever the issue is, for cancer, right? We need to give everyone chemotherapy drug, or we need to do this. But when you take a systems approach, you actually can look at it as a whole, holistic way, in a systems way, and you can find out you're integrating things. So you find out it's not any one thing. When it comes to joint health, we found out there are 4 different things that affect joint health: inflammation, oxidative stress, cartilage degeneration, and we want to regenerate cartilage. But MSM doesn't affect all of them. So if you have supplement snake oil salesman trying to tell you, oh, take MSM, it's going to cure everything. All right, everyone, I hope that was valuable. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.